When I was in high school, I had this vision of the woman that I was going to become in my 30s and 40s. And I saw this version of myself living her best life, being successful, loving her job, navigating all the stuff, ticking off all the boxes. And I thought, when you're 16, 17, 18, I thought, well, that's just going to come naturally through life as I, get my law degree. Life is just going to deliver that to me. It's going to be easy peasy. It's going to be a straight road. But then something surprising happened, something that I didn't really have on my bingo card. Definitely not in that vision. And that was when I was 28. I felt completely lost, like I had gone completely off track. That version seemed very, very far away from where I was. And I was questioning everything, questioning my choices. I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. I wanted to have a career that I loved and that I enjoyed, but I had no idea what that was going to be. I had no answers. It was like, what happened? Where did I go off path and how do I get to that woman? And not just that, by that point, I had changed my careers 3 times, and it really took a toll on my confidence and on my self esteem. And I really started doubting myself and carrying around so much shame, something that I call now career shame, about my career choices and also about not having it all figured out. Now, this applies to you whether you're in your 20s, like I was back then, whether you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, it really doesn't matter because the uh, feeling of it is very similar. And so today in this episode, I want to share with you how I overcame my career shame and the pressure of needing to figure everything out at a certain age so that I was then able to find my purpose and a career that I absolutely love and adore. But before we get into the episode, I want to share something really, really exciting for you. So, I've created an amazing resource, which is a free career clarity masterclass. And this is perfect for you if you're currently feeling lost or stuck in your career, not knowing what you want to do, or maybe you know what you want to do, but you don't know how to get there and you're not sure which career path is right for you. And you really want to move from an unfulfilling job to a career that feels meaningful, fulfilling, where you're doing work you love and making a real impact. Oh my God, I cannot wait for you to have this, really. So, what you get is a 30-minute recorded masterclass and an accompanying career clarity workbook that's going to take you through all the steps and a very special bonus resource at the end. So, you can grab this and get access to it right now if you click on the link here. I think it's here. I'm going to leave a link in the description as well. So hurry up, get this so that you get clarity as soon as possible and you don't have to wait another day wondering what your next career move should be. All right, now that you've grabbed that, let's get started with today's episode. Hello, and welcome to a new episode of What If It Is Possible, a podcast for your heart and soul that gives you full permission to follow your biggest, boldest, most audacious dreams and goals and helps you see what's really possible for you. My name is Taida. I'm your host, and I'm the founder of a premium coaching private practice, a professional life and career coach, and I help ambitious and heart-centered professionals and leaders to find their purpose, create fulfilling, meaningful careers doing the work they love, feeling on purpose, and making a real difference in the world. If you're new here, subscribe, comment, and share this episode with your friends and loved ones so that they can create meaningful, fulfilling lives too. This is how I overcame my career shame and the pressure of not having it all figured out. Today, I brought with me my story of how I overcame my career shame, and I really want to help you understand how you can do it too. So, how you can overcome your career shame and how to let go of that pressure of needing to have it all figured out. And you know what's interesting is that career shame, today we're going to speak about it more in the sense of people who are ashamed or feel that shame for not having the answers, for not having the clarity, for not having it all figured out. But career shame actually shows up for a lot of people that are in transition. So in between careers, or saying goodbye to the old and saying hello to the new. So a lot of people experience career shame if they already know that they don't want to stay in their career, but they're not sure what's next, or they're really still trying to find their purpose and they don't have clarity around that. Then a lot of people who are in between jobs, or who kind of know that they want to stay in the career that they're in, but they're still in the job hunting process, and they've just not landed that thing yet. And then also career shame can be very present for people who said goodbye to an old career and who are starting a new career. So they've just started to build something. And that can really throw us off, because especially for someone who's built a career, has 10 plus, maybe 15 plus years experience in one field, that builds a certain confidence. And then when you start something new, whether that's a new career or a new business, that really throws you into beginner mentality. And so a lot of shame and a lot of confidence and self-worth topics can come up with that. And so, like I said, just if you can identify yourself with any group that I just mentioned, you're really going to get so much out of this episode, even though we're just going to focus on predominantly on one group, because that was kind of my story and my experience. But know that the tools and the wisdom that I'm sharing here is really something that you can apply to your situation as well. It is, pick and choose what you need. And like I said, my main intention is that you have the tools and you have the insight of understanding what's happening here, so that you don't have to stay in that phase of career shame, because it can be quite detrimental and can have a huge impact on our well-being, on our sense of worth, confidence. And I want you to, even if that gets triggered, to get out of that thinking and feeling as soon as possible, and really see, oh my God, I'm so much more than this. And regardless of my current situation, I'll figure it out, and I'm worthy regardless. So I mentioned a couple of times how the sense of shame can really hit our self-worth and confidence. And often this is exactly when you're in between to or when you're in the empty space. I'll call it like that. When you're in that emptiness where the clarity has not yet come, that can really, really trigger a lot of self-worth questions, because suddenly a huge part of your identity, a lot of us are identified with our jobs and with our status and with material things. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the nature of the world that we live in. But we do want to make sure that we untangle that association, because I laugh, because who you are is so much bigger and greater than any job or any amount of money could give you. I'll actually share, okay, I'll come back to my notes. I'll circle back to this, okay? But I want to share this thing with you. It just came to mind. A while back, I was doing this exercise from Teal Swan, and it was around the concept of money and value of things, how we kind of experience value of things through money, through a certain number we put on it, and how we experience our value. And because often it's like, it's not the money that's in the way, but it's what we perceive is on the other side of money and ourselves, like in between. There's something in between those two things, and it's not money. So I was playing with different concepts, and I was playing with, okay, so let me put like a house on the other side, and I'm here, and in between is like money, but really it's the thing that's kind of could be potentially blocking me from a house. And then I was thinking, so what's a value of a house in comparison with my value? And I'm like, well, sure, it's we put a certain number on it. I don't know. Some houses, 100,000, 300,000, million, 10 million, whatever your dream house cost. And then I was like, but is the house really bigger than I am in terms of value? And I'm like, no, of course not. And then, as an experiment, I was like, okay, let me put something that's worth, I don't know, 300 trillion billion dollars. And I was on the other side. And I was like, do you know what? Even that, even the biggest number that my mind can comprehend in terms of worth and value, doesn't even come close to my value as a human being. And I'm just taking my value as an example. Of course, the same thing applies to you too. It's just that, we've been convinced that we make ourselves so small when it comes to these things that, we put a certain bigger monetary value to it. But then it's like, what? Everything in this world, even though it has that value, it still cannot even approximately measure up to your value. And now let me circle back to the job thing, right? And then we put the same kind of thing to our job, to our the status, or to the position that we had in the company. In reality, sure, in this, let's say, material world, it is a marker of something. It gives people information. It's like, oh, you have 10 years experience, therefore. But it has nothing to do with your value as a human being. And what often happens when we're in between, when we don't have the clarity, when we don't have, let's say, the next job, or if we're starting from the beginning again, those things that we identified our worth and value with, right? We're like, okay, well, I have a job that gives me, kind of amplifies my value, and I have a certain salary that amplifies my value. I have maybe 2 cars and a house that amplifies my value. I have a leadership position that amplifies my value. And so what happens with value? This is when we outsource our our value. It diminishes our value because all of it was stuck in those outwardly things. And then we're left there feeling so small without all of that. Whereas in fact, it's not true at all. Like I said, you are the most magnificent being, and nothing in this world can measure with your worth and value. And this is exactly what situations like these teach us. It's almost like life is inviting you, like, hey, I'm going to take it away just so that you can realize that you're worthy and enough just as you are, without the car, without the title, without the salary, whatever that is. And it can be a tough period. I know, because I was there, and it can really hit you with questions where you're like, what are other people going to think of me? And your concept of success and of worth and material things, and how you want to spend time, and so many things. But if you get through this period, and if you get to a point where you understand that regardless of what's outside, you are good and you are enough and you'll figure it out. And the most important thing for you is that you are in your joy and you follow your joy. And that's the thing, when you follow your joy, when you follow your alignment and you use your unique gifts and talents, what you came here to do, then you start to explore, wow, okay, this is this career. And then you start building it and you enjoy it. And that generates energy and vibration and focus, and that attracts people. I mean, is there anything more attractive? I mean, I'm sure there is, but I find it so attractive to see people who love what they do, who when you look at them, they're like, oh my God, you're glowing, you're shining. Like, how can you, do you really love it this much? And people are like, yeah. And you know, one of the nicest compliments that or the compliments that I receive that I really enjoy the most, because I'm like, yes, I did it. When people tell me, Taida, I see that you really love what you do, and that's so inspiring. And it's like, yes, and I want you to find that thing too, and you can. You know, once you go through all of this stuff and you question if your worth is really, really connected with even experience, you know, with anything in the outside world. Because when you understand how inherently worthy you are, you can move with so much more freedom, and you don't need those outwardly things. But the outwardly things come, because when you're in your joy, you're like a magnet, and they're like, okay, here's a job opportunity, here's a promotion, here's this and that, and here are clients. So that's what I wanted to share in this more introductionary. What I wanted to wait a second. Yes, what I wanted to share in this introductory part to this episode, that really the invitation is to disassociate yourself or untangle anything in the outer world with your worth and your confidence and your value, and just really to recognize you for who you are, because that leads you to a completely different entry point into the field of possibility and whatever is going to unfold for you next. All right. So we are going to be looking today at 3 things through my story. I'm going to share how I overcame that, but we're going to look at 3 main things in what comes up when we're talking about career shame and not having it all figured out. And then I'll tell you what it leads to and what you can do to overcome it. Okay, so the 3 things are: number 1, the pressure and the thought of I should have it all figured out. I don't have it figured out, but I should have it figured out. So that's 1. Number 2 is, what are others going to think about me, about where I currently am, about my choices, about who I am as a human being. And then the third one is the emotion of shame, and how you can actually overcome shame on the level of the emotion. Let's start with number 1, the thought and the pressure of I should have it all figured out already. Why do I not have it all figured out? So I know that very, very well. I also know how much self-judgment and how much criticism I gave to myself when I didn't have it all figured out. And so with me, you know, because I did 3 career transitions by the time I was 28. So with me, it was maybe a little bit different than you, because some people, you know, follow one career path for 15 years and then in their 40s and 50s really think about making a change. For me, it was everything happened between the ages of 18 and 28. So my first 2 career changes were, you know, it wasn't like the best thing in my mind, but it wasn't the worst thing either. Because, you know, when you're in your 20s, it's still socially acceptable, I'm going to say. So I want you to hear this. Just because it's socially acceptable in your 20s doesn't mean it's not okay to do it in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. That's a little bit less socially accepted. But just because it's not accepted doesn't mean that you don't have all the right in the world. Of course you do, and you should. Your main task in your life is to follow your joy and alignment. And if that means you're going to change careers 10 times, then, you know, so be it, until you find what you love and adore. But so for me, that was my first 2 transitions from law to yes, from law to journalism, and then from journalism to marketing, they were okay-ish. But then my third transition, so when I was in marketing and I started to realize, nope, we're here again. This is not going to be a path where we're really going to stay on. That one was so hard for me to let go, because I had built up all of this pressure. It's like, but you've already changed your mind twice. How can you do it one more time? I mean, all of this stuff came coming out, crawled up. And that was also, we're going to come to it in a moment, like understanding where the pressure comes from. So there was a lot of no, now you chose this. Now you're just gonna stick through it, kind of that very disciplinarian. And no matter how much my mind was trying to push me to stay in that direction, my whole body resisted. And, I knew that, like we talked about in the previous episode, that something just had to change. And, I was just going to have to bite the bullet, so to speak. And so, interestingly, even though the marketing out of all the three career fields was the least interesting to me, I tell you, like journalism and law, I could see myself at least doing something. Marketing felt the least appetizing. And at the same time, I try to force myself the most to keep at it. I mean, where's the logic? There's no logic when it comes to to the mind and the beliefs, because it's just gonna want to steer you in one direction. I also want to share this thought with you. So I stayed in marketing for a little bit. I did social media marketing as well, and then I transitioned into coaching. And I came to one point where I was holding on so much. No, I'm going to stay in marketing regardless of the cost. It really pressured me, I'm going to say, into a corner where I just realized I can't go on like this. I can't go on like this. And whatever choice I make next, I need to give myself permission to be able to change my mind. I can't have the expectation of the next thing being the thing for me. And even, after I transitioned into coaching, I realized I can't be attached to anything because the more I'm attached to it, the harder it is to let go and the more I suffer. And the moment that I transitioned into coaching, and this was a big moment for me, and I really hope that you get this when you're listening. A big moment for me was to say, you know what, Taida, you have full permission to try it out. And if it doesn't work out, you're just going to find the next thing. And that's okay. And you just stay in there for as long as you want. And you're just going to do things differently than other people. So that really allowed me to go into this with a much more easeful mind and system. And even now, if you asked me, is this the thing? And I'm like, I'm absolutely living my purpose. I've never had as much fun in my life. I love it. I mean, it comes with its own pressures. It's, having your businesses, having a business is like its own beast, but I've never been more fulfilled. But it's not coaching, it's because I know at the core what I love, what my strengths are, what my unique gifts and talents are, and however I choose to practice it. Right now it's coaching, but even if that changes and I go into something else, I know that as long as I have my foundations fulfilled, where I can help people grow and be fulfilled, I don't care how it looks like, as long as I do what I'm really craving and what I'm really, really good at. So that's really something that I want to give to you. It's like, if possible, let go of the attachment that this next thing has to work out or this now has to be the next thing. The reality is that a lot of people are going to take time to figure things out, especially if you're, have been in an unfulfilled career and now you're looking for something. It's going to take testing. And that's not at all what the mind likes to hear. The mind likes to hear the next thing is going to be the thing. We're going to have clarity. We're going to have a plan. We're going to have it figured out. And in 6 months, we're going to be on track again. Everything's going to be like put neatly in a box. But life and the reality often isn't like that. It's often going to invite us to experiment and try things out and see what works, what doesn't. And through those lived experiences, we really get to figure out, so this is what I want and this is what I don't want. And this is really at the core of what I want. So with this pressure, and in order to overcome this part, we really want to understand where this pressure is coming from. What are these sentences and the beliefs and the thoughts that we keep saying to ourselves? What is that part? And you can call it the inner critic. I mean, that was my part. Maybe it's something else for you. What does it keep telling you? What are the messages that you keep receiving? And so for me, right, to understand the why, for me, it was, you were an A+ student, you graduated top 10 in class, you can't not have it figured out. Or what are other people going to think? Or other people are going to think that you're a failure, that you've no idea what you're doing. Or I need to prove to others that I can actually stick to something. That was a big fear of mine. It's like, what if I can't stick to anything? What if this is what my life is going to be? I mean, and if this is your fear, let me just really put you at ease and tell you that you will find the thing that lights you up. There is no doubt about it. If you're searching and if your heart is open, you will find it. It may take a divine time, not the mind's time, but you will get there for sure. And now the problem with all of that is that it has a good intention, right? My inner critic also had a good intention. Like it just wanted me to be successful, to move ahead in life, to probably have a certain status, and then that would increase my value, based on the outer markers. But it's just not productive, and it doesn't lead to the desired result. So often what happens is that when we're putting that amount of pressure on ourselves, it's actually putting us in a vicious cycle. So how it worked for me is like, okay, I had this, oh my God, I should figure everything out. And then, pressure, pressure, pressure. And instead of that pressure putting ease, bringing more ease into my life, it actually caused more anxiety and more, okay, come on, hurry up, it generated more pressure, and that all of that pressure generated even more anxiety. And so my mind was less clear, my emotions were stronger and stronger, and it just kept on amplifying and amplifying until the bubble was so full, like it had to burst at one point. And oftentimes that's the point where we're like, okay, that's it. I can't take this anymore. I need to get external help. I need to work with a coach. I need to work with a therapist. This is it. I'm driving myself crazy. And so that was what was happening for me too. So the pressure keeps amplifying, and it's just not actually taking you to where you want to be, which is clarity. It's actually taking you further away from being clear. So if more pressure doesn't lead to clarity, then what does? So here's exactly what I did. I'm going to tell you exactly what I did, and you can copy paste this, all right? So first, you want to understand what the hell you're even telling yourself this whole time. What are these beliefs that you are carrying around in your system about why you need to figure this stuff out? So, questioning any limitation, questioning any judgment, right? So maybe you're thinking, well, I need to have this figured out, otherwise I'm a failure. And then you can ask yourself, but is that actually true, that I'm a failure if I don't have it figured out? Is it actually true? And then it's like, well, I don't know that that's true. Am I really a failure? I still have lots of stuff to give. Maybe that area in my life wasn't like the most successful right now, but I wouldn't say that I'm a failure, right? Or maybe your thought is, well, I should have it all figured out. And that's the thought that you're receiving. You should, you should, you should, you should. And I mean, I love to question any should. So you can be like, okay, should I really have it all figured out? And then you're like, I don't know. Who am I to say that I should? Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe this is actually exactly where I'm supposed to be. Maybe this is the right place to be. Maybe this is trying to teach me something. And the more you question your mind, the more it loosens that grip. The more that pressure that was like holding on so tight, it starts to kind of get less and less strong. And the less strong the pressure is, the more space you finally have in your system. Another thing that really helped me, because so with judgment, sorry, I have to say this differently. Another thing that really helped me was self-forgiveness, because with pressure, there's often a lot of self-judgment and self-blaming. Every kind of should is kind of an arrow that we point towards our heart. So you should this, you shouldn't this, other people are going to think you're this. What did I have written here? I had a couple of thoughts. You can't even figure this out. You can't stick to anything. What's your future going to look like? You're incapable. So these were kind of some of my thoughts. And now with self forgiveness, we really want to move from that self blaming, self judging to a self loving space, because we've realized by now, okay, apparently more pressure doesn't help. I mean, if it would help, then you probably wouldn't be listening to this episode right now. So I'm inviting you into another experiment. Okay, so let me just try what happens if I actually try to be kinder to myself and say, do you know what? What if everything is exactly how it's supposed to be? What if it's okay that I am where I am? Why can't, or let me allow this to just, let me just allow myself to be where I am just for a couple of moments. And so, what self forgivenesses really do is they fill up your heart with love. And it kind of does the same thing as questioning the mind, which is it just brings lots of love. It puts you into your heart and it brings you into expansion. And it happens through allowing. Do you notice like there's no resistance? It's okay. I'll figure it out. It's just where I am at the moment. It's all going to be okay. It's all going to be good. I just need some time to figure things out. I'm okay. So you're bringing love into your heart, and all of that is just allowing you to come back to yourself. And the more you come back to yourself, that's where clarity lies. It doesn't lie in the mind. It's going to come from your heart, want it or not, that's where you're going to find it. It's not going to come from the pressures of your mind. And so self-forgiveness is an amazing practice. My clients adore it. Adore it. They're like, even when I was in teaching or mentoring students in the Laura Seiler coaching program, people were, I mean, I don't want to say obsessed. Maybe that's the word it's too big of a word, but people were really resonating with self-forgiveness is because it does something to you. It really does something to you. And so, yes, so we said questioning of the mind, self-forgiveness. Another thing, let me see, what do I have here? Yes, so third thing I have here is going back to the process of self-discovery. And this actually neatly follows my train of thought. So we question the limitation and the pressure, or what's underneath the pressure. We give ourselves self-forgiveness. And then once you're there, once in your heart, you have access to clarity. And then you can really start that self-discovery process, which is, okay, do you know what? All good. I am where I am. Sure, I'd love to be somewhere else, but this is where I am. And I'm going to allow myself to be here now. I know that I don't want to have a career that I had. That much is clear. And I want to have a fulfilling career. So there has to be something. This is what I was asking myself, like, there has to be something I'm good at. There's so many people in this world who are so good at things and who love things. Like, surely I need to have something like that too. I mean, honestly, because of this whole experience, so many of my coaching programs came to life, amongst others, Purpose and Potential Special, where that's exactly, I gathered my system in a coaching program. And that really helps clients to find their purpose and step into their potential. But so, what am I inherently good at? There has to be something. So, what am I good at? And so, you go back to the basics, you go back to ground zero. So, kind of scratch everything. What am I good at? What brings me joy? What did I like in my previous job? What do I really want to be doing? And then you just open yourself up for things. And you don't always get the full picture. Sometimes some people do, and they get, that, no, it's that, bam, and they know the purpose and they understand the context, which is it. I want it to be through this job. I've already seen it. I can't wait to apply. And for some people, it's going to take a bit longer and they're going to have to gather more information and just follow one step at a time. And so that's exactly how it happened for me. 28, I was completely lost, no idea what the hell, where to go. Like, I cannot even tell you the amount of times I was crying on my couch, feeling so sorry for myself. What did I do? Oh my God, questioning every choice and just wanting to be one of those people who have it all figured out. Cannot tell you the amount of times. So, but that really led me to self-discover. Okay, so who am I at my core? What do I value? What are my interests? How could my career look like? And maybe this is also an interesting thing. The way that I work with people and what worked for me is always go from the inside out. So we never go from outside in. You will not see on my blog, on my podcast, 10 career ideas for introverts. No, because you are so much more than any list and any job description. And let's be honest, in 2026, you can create your own. I mean, this isn't 1950 where you had these limited choices in your career, and even then there was always options to step outside of the box. Today, I mean, you could literally create your own career. You could have 3 different things and under the same umbrella. Like, who am I to tell you which career could be the best for you? The best ever choice for you is going to be the one that comes from inside after you've realized what you love. And then once you need more information, then you start opening yourself up to options and possibilities and see, oh, that's out there too. Interesting. Yeah, I could see that. But let's be honest, like, even throughout the self-discovery process, as you're learning more about yourself, those things come into your life. And so, yes, inside out work. And once you do the self-discovery work and you take it step by step by step by step, sooner or later you get there. It's inevitable. You can't not, because if you're here, if you're in my community, I know that you are someone who wants to make an impact, that you are someone who wants to love what they do, that you are someone who is willing to put in the work and to put in the highest quality and to give your heart into whatever it is that you're doing. It really is inevitable for you to find that. Next up is, what are other people gonna think? The amount of times that I thought this thought and the amount of times that my clients have told me this very sentence, what are other people gonna think? And it's so interesting, we're just projecting our thoughts onto other people because we have no idea what they're thinking. For me, it was, well, kind of the same. You're gonna notice it's the same stories over and over again. They're just like come to you through different ways. So others are going to think that, well, I failed, that I have no idea what I'm doing, that I haven't figured it out yet, that I can't stick to anything. They're going to think, wow, she fell hard. This one was really tough for me. Wow, she used to be an A+ student and now look at her kind of struggling. I never would have expected that from her. So those thoughts were freaking me out. And I tell you, at the time, so this was, I think, a period of maybe 6 months, I was terrified of meeting people, especially when so there was one period where I didn't have clarity over what I wanted to do. And I was terrified of telling people that I didn't know what I wanted to do. That to me felt so scary. Again, what are they going to think about me? Oh my God. And I remember there was one point where we had a high school anniversary coming up, and I was in Germany at the time. So the anniversary was in Slovenia, and the I was in Germany and I couldn't attend, and I was relieved. But that shocked me. I was like, "Oh my God, what the hell? This isn't okay. This isn't good. I'm avoiding people because I'm just afraid of what they're gonna say or dreading the question." And so what do? Because these are social occasions where of course you're gonna ask people, "So what have you been up to? What kind of, what are you doing? Who are you working for? Are you loving your job?" And I was like dreading the question. And then the other time when this came up for me very strongly was when I knew what I wanted. So then I had clarity. This was later on, that I wanted to move to coaching, but I was terrified to tell people because there was just this perception that I was carrying within me. Oh my God, people are going to think. No, no, actually, it's a thought that I heard from my former boss, that kind of, you know, hit me in the heart at the time, and I kept projecting it onto other people until I solved it for myself. So we were having a conversation after I had handed in my resignation, and he was asking me, "So what are you going to do next?" And I said, "Well, I'm doing a coaching certification. I'm gonna go into coaching." And he was like, "Huh, all right. Well, everyone wants to be a coach these days." And for some reason, that just like, I was a blow to my, I don't know, my system. And I kept projecting that onto other people. Oh my God, and not everyone's going to think everyone wants to be a coach. So see, another thought that we need to / get to dismantle, because as long as I was believing, oh my God, now everyone's going to think that everyone wants to be a coach, I just wasn't able to show myself in my full confidence. And oh my God, yeah, cool, let everyone be a coach. Then apparently the world needs more coaches if so many people want to be coaches. So that was a different beast. So when I knew that I wanted to go into coaching, and I was started to share with people that I want to go into coaching, and then I was like, oh my God, no, they're gonna ask me, and then what are they gonna think about me, that I'm gonna fail anyways, that everyone wants to be a coach, all of these things and thoughts and stories. And so these inner happenings, so notice everything is happening in the mind. Apart from that sentence that I heard from my boss, there was really no one in the outer world who had anything to say about that. I mean, people were quite supportive, and they're like, yeah, go for it. I mean, I had so many people, friends of mine, who were like, oh my God, thank God, thank God, thank God. I'm so happy you went to coaching. This made you in you're such a better person, more rounded person today. And, you get to help me now with these topics and all of these things. And so I really, I chose, I should say, a really big support system in my life. But what can happen, of course, is that when this is active, that we go into isolation. We kind of tend to stay home more. We don't go to social experiences because we're trying to avoid other people, because we're afraid of what they're going to think, or they're going to judge us. Or I remember for that high school reunion that I mentioned, I kept on thinking of like couple specific classmates of mine who are like lawyers working for like these biggest law firms in the country, or doctors. And I was like, oh my God, what are they going to think? They have like 7 years experience. They're really forward in their career. And then like, for me, the cherry on top is always the sentence, oh, I'm sure they have it all figured out. And this is one that I love to work with on my clients too, because it's such a projection. Like, who knows what's happening in their world? Yes, they may be further along in their career. They may have really found what they're passionate about, and they're following that, and they're building experience and know-how, and but who knows what they're innerly feeling? Maybe they feel they're questioning things as well. We can never know just based on our perception. So, see, this is what I mean. We want to question everything, specifically when we're projecting onto others. Oh my God, they have it so much easier than I do, or they have it all figured out. I would really question it. My experience is that each one of us has something that we're constantly working through, and we definitely don't have everything figured out, because that is not the nature of life. The nature of life is that it constantly wants you to refigure things out. Also, maybe it would be interesting to see, after 15, 20, 25 years, what those classmates would say about their careers, if they really feel like that's it, or if they want to change, because sometimes life is just going to give you another curveball, after a couple of years of stability, and it's going to be like, hey, now it's time to grow, and you cannot grow if you're stable. So let's shake things up a little bit, and invite you into something new. Now let's talk about how we can get you out of this cycle of thinking, oh my God, what are other people going to think? And then isolating yourself from the world, and, kind of staying under pressure and in your thoughts, versus actually moving forward and getting clarity, and making decisions. So, one thing that I want you to start with is to just keep it moving. So, really, the last thing you want to do is think about things, because thinking isn't really going to move you forward. What's going to move you forward is experimenting and trying things out. And you're always going to get a clue to the next step. It's not going to necessarily be the entire picture, but it's always going to be the next step. Maybe your next step is, I don't know, trying out a role within your company. And then you're going to see, not really. Maybe the next step is, oh, I was actually really curious about, I don't know, journalism or something. Let me try to open up a Substack just for myself, just for me. Let's see what happens if I start writing as a hobby, just sharing my thoughts, sharing my experiences, maybe even, have some people follow me. And then you're doing that, and then, who knows where that's going to lead, but you're always going to get the next step. But the important thing is that it's the experience that's going to help you get clarity, not thinking about the experience. And now we also want to get you to a place where you can speak with other people, and you can confidently say, you know what? I really didn't enjoy what I was doing, and I made a decision for myself to really figure out what I want. I want to be in integrity with what I do. I know that I have things that I can offer, and I also know that the previous thing wasn't it, and I'm not willing to compromise anymore. Like, my joy with my work matters, because I know that that way I can be the biggest contribution to the world. And people love honesty. We love honesty. We love it when people don't want to compromise on certain things. And Also, you can always ask them, what do you think I'm good at? You know me. What stands out to you? How have I impacted you? Tell me, because anything can be a clue for me. And so that way you kind of, the resistance gets less because you're just putting your cards onto the table. And it's like, of course, you're going to figure it out. Of course. Of course. And then there's building trust that you will figure it out. So I can tell you that you'll figure it out. I mean, I've seen it hundreds of times, people figuring it out. I've seen it in my example with all of my clients. We figure it out. It's just how life is. You don't know, and then It's fine. It's just a cycle. But just because I tell you, it doesn't mean that, you're going to believe me and that your system is going to relax and it's going to be like, oh, okay, fine. If Taita says it, then I will. So what really helps here is to build a certain trust from a higher perspective, to rely or to allow yourself be supported by some sort of higher intelligence, whatever that is for you. Maybe you're religious, maybe you are spiritual in the sense of you believe in the universe or life or angels or spirit guide or spirit guides or spirit animals, whatever that is for you. Maybe it's, if that's not your thing, you're more like, okay, I do believe in the soul, I do believe in the unconscious and that inner wisdom. That's what you want to tap into. So you want to tap into something bigger than you, because something bigger is always going to have a bigger, wider perspective than your limited mind. And it's really going to help you trust that, hey, it's okay where I am. There's a divine timing for everything. Everything is unfolding for me in divine timing. I'm always taken care of. And I mean, even if as you're listening to this and you're saying these things to yourself, just notice how your body feels. Does it go into resistance and it's like, oh my God, this is horrible, I can't listen to this, which may be the case. Maybe you have some inner resistance to this, or you're thinking to yourself, wow, that actually makes me feel really good and it really brings peace and calmness into my life. And for me, I've done that every step of the way. I have a very strong spiritual practice in terms of, connecting with myself. I've mentioned a lot of times how I love channeling. I love channeled stuff. I love like Tosha Silver, Abraham Hicks, like all of these things, Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God. These are things that really help us tap into something that it's not very typical, or it's not something we've grown up with. But I've just always had this inclination to, well, I've always had this sense that I was taken care of. Even in my darkest days and in my rock bottoms of bottoms, I always felt like something was holding me, that I wasn't going to fall down. And so I've had this trust in life, and I've always been able to see the gift of situations. And this is really what I always tune into, and it would be a disservice if I don't share that this is also a part of what I do. I don't necessarily I share it with my clients if they're interested in it, but it's nothing that they need to do. I do know, however, that it opens up a new perspective and a new level of peace and calmness if we just invite that into our life, regardless of what shape it has for you. But it can offer lots of hope, lots of peace, lots of presence. And that's, where everything leads from. That's where we want to go. We want to come to you. We want to come to that presence. And that's where we find clarity. The third thing that I'm going to share with you today is shame, and specifically how to deal with and address the emotion of shame. So, shame is a social emotion, meaning little kids don't really have shame the way that we experience it as adults. In fact, shame develops after we've believed a certain set of social and cultural norms and rules. So that first needs to be established. And then often how we're going to develop it is, so there's a certain, wherever you're living, there's a certain, set of these things. Then you make a certain transgression, I'm going to say, against these cultural and social rules. So you may say something that's inappropriate or do something that's inappropriate, and then you get reprimanded by an authority figure, a person that you love, or maybe you feel like love has been pulled away from you because of what you said or did. And now, because especially as little human beings, we need love in order to survive, and also we're beings that really want belonging. The moment that we see, oh, this could create a divide, this could take away that love, the way that I acted, what I thought, what I said, can actually lead to me losing that love. That's where that act or that thinking or how we believe about ourselves can become dangerous to our system. And so our system is like, don't do that, that's a bad thing. And so you save this program in your unconscious, right? It runs there automatically. If I do this, if I am like this, if I am not like this, so this idealized version of yourself, then that's dangerous, and it can lead to withdrawal of love, and that can, lead me to a life and death situation. And so that program keeps running in your system even as you're an adult. And so the moment that you say or think or do something that would fall outside of those norms, that can bring up a sense of shame, the emotion of shame. So that's why we say it's a social emotion. It really comes from the social construct that you were raised in. Now, what does shame lead to? Generally, any kind of emotion that's activated is going to impact our actions, our behaviors, and our results. And you can think about it, just for a moment. Okay, when I feel shame about where I am currently, where does that lead me to, which actions, and how does my body feel? I mean, is it like, oh, that makes me feel expansive, I really want to go into action, or it makes me feel really contracted and I hold myself back? Now, shame is an interesting one because on the scale of consciousness, so Dr. David R. Hawkins developed developed an emotional scale of emotions and their frequencies. And he realized, or he found out, that shame has the lowest frequency. The frequency of shame is 20 out of 1,000. And so just to give you an example, love, it has a frequency of 500. Enlightenment has a frequency of 1,000. And so shame is so low on that scale that it feels like, I'm going to read this to you, that it represents the lowest and most contractive state of human energy, just a step above death. So this is how impactful shame is on our system and on the results that we're creating. And it's very much connected with low self-worth, with feelings of helplessness. So it's a very powerless state of being, and we don't want to stay there. It's okay if it comes up and we work through it, and that's what every emotion does, but we don't want to stay there. And then if you also are, on the spiritual side, we have the emotional scale of Abraham Hicks, which they did something similar. So Dr. Hawkins is obviously a real human being who did this, but the Abraham Hicks wisdom is channeled. And so they have created a vibrational scale, of a vibrational ladder, I think they call it, with 22 steps. And interestingly, so it's same information from different sources, and on their vibrational ladder, shame is second to last. So it's also very, very low on that scale, and it's just one of the lowest vibrating emotions. And the lowest vibrating emotions are thicker, they are how do I, thicker emotional states, they're slower, they're kind of heavier, whereas the higher emotions like love and enlightenment and peace, they're faster emotions and they're lighter emotional states. And you can try this out for yourself. Like, how does shame feel in your body, just on a pure body level? And then how does love feel? What feels lighter, what feels heavier? So emotions, their role in our system is that they come and they go. It's just energy that gets activated in the system. And so emotions aren't bad. Maybe that's the first thing that we need to cover here. It's like emotions it's energy that generates. It will happen. Like, we can't avoid it. And I want you to know that if you have emotions and if you're in tune with your emotions and if you're emotional, quote unquote, that's a good thing, because it just means that you're actually feeling the emotions. If you're not feeling the emotions, that's also not the best place to be, because then everything gets stuck in your body. And then that can have a negative impact on your body and on your health and on your well being. So essentially, we want to work through any emotion. We don't want to hang in there, and we don't want the emotion to be present for too long. So what we tend to do with shame is, because it's so uncomfortable, we just tend to push it away, or push it down. But the healing actually comes through being with it and allowing it and kind of breathing with it. And it's that presence and love that brings healing to the emotion. And then the emotion moves through. And then again, you come back to yourself, into your center, and into clarity. So you want to come into your heart. You want to move from your heart outwards into the world. That's where you're going to find clarity. And that's how you work through shame and through any emotion, is just being with it, allowing it, getting familiar with it. And you may need to do this a couple of times. A good way is journaling or unconscious writing. And then also, if you want a more comprehensive if you want to work it on a deeper level, then this is also what we do in coaching, where we work on it on an emotional and unconscious level to really make sure that it's integrated and you can move forward with ease and out of an energy of love and expansion. Let's do a little roundup, shall we? So, what I shared with you today is a bulletproof way to overcome your career shame and the pressure. So, if you want a recipe, sometimes my clients are like, "Well, tell me what, tell me exactly what." And I tell them exactly what. And they're like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yes, you wanted a recipe. This is a recipe. So, what I gave to you today is the recipe. If you do all of these steps, if you just do one step each month, it will take you out of that sense of unclarity, out of that sense of shame, out of that pressure, and it's going to bring you into a state of connectedness and clarity. This really is what leads to change. This is what changed my entire life, what changes the lives of my clients, and what leads you to being more connected with yourself, being at peace with yourself, understanding your self-worth, being confident, allowing yourself to experiment, following your joy, finding the thing that really lights you up, that you love and adore, and then also having the energy of going for it, because it's like, okay, let's go. I'm so excited about this. Let's do it. So all of these things helped me to understand what my purpose was, to go for it, to start a business. I'm now in my 7th year, to work with hundreds of amazing people, helping them do the same. So it really, really, really works. And now just a little reminder, if you're feeling stuck in your work and your job and your career, and you really want to move from an unfulfilling career to a career that's meaningful, where you're loving what you do, really making an impact, then my free Career Clarity Masterclass may be just the thing for you, and it's going to help you find your next career path so that you can have the clarity and confidence to move forward. So grab it. The link is here and in the description below. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. And I would love to hear your biggest insight in the comments on YouTube or send me a DM on Instagram at Tida Glazer. And if there's someone in your life whom this could really serve, then please share this wisdom, this episode with them. It may be just the thing that they need to hear. Know that your dreams matter. You matter. And remember that anything is possible when you start changing your inner world. Sending so many blessings your way. Have a beautiful week, and I can't wait to see you back here next week. Bye-bye.